Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Skill Council for Green Jobs Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav webinar series. As many of you are already aware, SCGJ hosts this weekly webinar on a range of themes across the green jobs sector, the entire spectrum of green jobs. So today we have a presentation on unlocking green job opportunities in India's clean energy sector. And this is from Dr. Akanksha Tyagi, who is currently working as a program associate, Renewables Division at the Council of Energy, Environment and Water. As many of you are already aware, CEEW, in short, is a Delhi-based not-for-profit policy research think tank. And right at the outset, I would like to welcome Akanksha, a very good colleague from CEEW, who agreed to share her experiences and insights gained with a lot of work on jobs and skilling, which she and her team has undertaken, particularly on the renewable energy sector over the last few years. So essentially, just over a decade, CEEW has built an immensely talented team, which uses data, integrated analysis, and strategic outreach to explain, change, analyze the use, reuse, and what they call the misuse of resources. So it's quite an interdisciplinary team. And as most of us working in the sector are already aware, CEEW in particular is an institution of learning, a forum for dialogue, and a platform from which to launch solutions across this interconnected theme of energy, environment, and water. Very interesting organization. They have, an immensely talented group of people, and Akanksha is one of them. A very important team member whose primarily research focus is mainly on scaling distributed energy resources through various technical and policy interventions. She also works on supporting circular economy of minerals, assessing the socio-economic impact of renewable energy technologies to support the India's clean energy transition. She also holds a doctorate in human and environmental studies from Kyoto University, Japan. She's also an alumnus of Indian Institute of Technology, Hyderabad, where she has completed her master's in chemistry. Now, it's very important to note here that since the last 7 years or so, CEEW and the Natural Resource Defense Council, NRDC in short, in collaboration with us, Skill Council for Green Jobs, have been using primary data surveys to collect, analyze accurate market-based information on various jobs created, workforce employed, and the overall skills required to achieve India's renewable energy goals. So essentially, these three organizations, they come up with annual reports on jobs and skilling, and a lot of insights from those reports would be presented in Akanksha's presentation today. So essentially, she would be presenting insights from all those studies. She would also share recommendations on what must be done to scale up trainings at the required quality and pace to meet the skilled workforce requirement for the Indian renewable energy industry, particularly Indian renewable energy industry, not only the power sector, but the niche RE industry within the wider gamut of power sector, in line with obviously the 2030 targets, what India has already pledged at UNFCCC level, and the overall energy transition, what the country is currently undertaking. So with this, again, I would like to welcome Dr. Akanksha Tyagi. Akanksha, it's over to you now. I'll request Saxena sir later, in the presentation to share his remarks. But for now, you can start the presentation. Over to you.
Thank you, Deepak. Could you please confirm if the screen is visible?
It is visible.
All right. Thank you, Deepak, for the introduction, not just about me, but also about my institution. And it's a privilege to be on this platform. And my sincere thanks to Skill Council for Green Jobs for providing me this opportunity. So as Deepak mentioned, I represent the Council on Energy, Environment and Water, and we are among Asia's leading policy research institutions. We have 7 focus areas for research, which cover energy access, risks and adaptation, technology, finance and trade, and we have a dedicated CEEW Center for Energy Finance that works to accelerate the deployment of, to create finance and new avenues to raise capital for deploying clean energy technologies. I belong to the renewables team, whose objective is to accelerate not just India's, but globally, especially in the developing countries, their clean energy transition. So a clean energy transition is underway in India, and that's happening across sectors. It's happening in the power sector, in transport, and in industries. So far, India has amassed about 113 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity. And a majority of this capacity comes from wind, followed by comes from solar, followed by wind, small hydro, biomass, and then other forms of energy like waste to energy. And a lot of this capacity installation has happened in the last decade or so. So it's a huge remark, and it's a remarkable achievement that we have amassed over 100 gigawatt of energy installed capacity in less than a decade. But the road ahead is far more ambitious. We are aiming to achieve about 500 gigawatts of non-fossil generation capacity by 2030. And a majority of this, the exact numbers might differ, but a majority of this would come from these 4 or 5 in the clean energy technologies that you see in the pie chart on this slide. So this is the transition which is underway on the electricity generation side or in the power sector. But parallelly, we have plans to scale up energy storage that will help that the energy or the capacity which is deployed in the power sector is well utilized. We have plans to electrify our transportation fleet by setting up a lot of charging infrastructure, by increasing the demand of battery storage technologies. And we have plans to decarbonize our industry like steel by adopting the usage of green hydrogen. So we can see that the transition is happening across sectors. And with this transition, the nation is able to achieve jobs, growth, and sustainability. These all new sectors contribute to new employment creation, which drives the economic growth, and all this is happening in a sustainable manner. Now we'll go a bit deeper to understand what are the jobs that everyone associates with the clean energy sector. So clean energy technologies, the jobs that are created by them can be broadly classified as direct, indirect, and induced, depending on where the job creation is happening. So direct jobs are created when a particular technology is deployed. So it is your focus that you want to, like where you are estimating the jobs, which is primarily at the deployment phase. For example, let's say you're setting up a biomass or a bioenergy plant. So whatever workers or people who are employed to deploy that, that create that plant and to run it, those will be accounted as the direct employees or the employees who have taken up the direct jobs. If you're talking about manufacturing of batteries, let's say, then your manufacturing facility itself, its construction and operation becomes your focus. So the jobs which are created during that phase are direct jobs. Indirect jobs are the ones which are created in the sectors that support your focus. So for example, going back to the bioenergy example again, so your supply chain of biofeeder, like the fodder that goes into your bioenergy plant. So the supply chain of it then serves whatever jobs are created in that phase are called indirect jobs. Similarly, when we talk about manufacturing industry, then your team that is procuring raw materials, who is providing you the equipments and all. So those industries, the jobs which are created there are called indirect jobs. If we were to take a step back and say we are focusing on creation of a solar park or a wind farm, then the deployment of the solar park itself becomes your direct job. But the manufacturing industry comes under indirect jobs, because then your manufacturing industry is supporting your the deployment of your solar parks, because it provides you those equipments, it provides you those modules that go into the park. So that's how the notion of direct and indirect job changes, depending on where you're focusing. The third category of jobs is called induced jobs, which are created when someone who is employed in the clean energy sector spends their earnings. So let's say a solar park is constructed, you have workers who are coming in and helping the plant construct. So in the region nearby, maybe a tea stall comes up, or a grocery shop comes up, or people start creating additional accommodation to rent out their places so that people who are working can stay there. So those are additional means of earning, or like livelihood opportunities which are created for the people nearby. So those jobs are then counted as induced jobs. So that's how we would differentiate the jobs which are created in the sector. And this is true not just for clean energy sector. In fossil industry itself, like in the traditional power sector, when we talk about, let's say you are constructing a thermal power plant. So that construction itself is counted as a direct job. The mining which is happening to supply coal is counted as an indirect job. And the town which is created to accommodate the workers working in these thermal power plants, and so whatever facilities could come up there, those are counted as induced jobs. Another way to look at the jobs is the duration for which they are lasting. So jobs could be short term or long term. Short term job means that the workers move across projects. They are working on a particular task, and as soon as the task is over, they switch over. So people who are, let's say, engaged in the construction phase, their jobs are short term, because as soon as the particular construction activity is over, they maybe will move to another project as and when the opportunity arises. Long-term jobs, on the other hand, are associated with a single project. So for the same plant, when the people who are working on the operation and maintenance, their jobs would be long-term because they would continue as long as the project is running. So this is the whole terms. These are the various terms with which people discuss and deliberate on what are the job opportunities in the clean energy sector. And often the times, the discussion is around direct jobs, because those are easy to compute. You can calculate them as they're associated with a certain capacity that is deployed or a certain manufacturing facility that's set up. But indirect and induced jobs, a little difficult to calculate. We know the notion, like we can see where they're created, but the exact quantum is a bit difficult to estimate, because there are, it's very difficult to attribute them to that particular technology. There could be other reasons also why induced jobs have come up or why indirect jobs are coming up. So it's difficult to qualitatively, we can do it in a qualitative manner, but to quantitatively mention that the job is associated with this particular project or this particular sector, that's difficult. And the way we calculate direct jobs is by using a term full-time equivalent job. A full-time equivalent, or FTE, is nothing but you're converting any job or any activity that you're doing into a full-time manner. So the standard definition of a typical working day could be you're working 8 hours a day, 6 or 5 days a week. That is your standard working hours. But for a lot of jobs, the time duration and the days on which they are working could be different. For example, people could be working 12 hours shift or doing 24-hour shift, and they're just working maybe twice in a day or maybe 20 days in a month. So it's very difficult. How do you then create a standard parameter to say that these are the jobs which are created? So to have that standardization, researchers have developed a full-time equivalent coefficient. So this term, as I was saying, it converts any job which is happening or whatever job someone is engaged in, it converts it into a standard time frame, and the ratio of time just spent by a worker on any particular task with the ratio of, with the number which is the standard total working hours. So that ratio gives you full-time equivalent coefficient. And in the table that you see at the bottom, you will see FTE coefficients for wind, utility scale, and rooftop solar. And these coefficients were developed by Council on Energy, Environment and Water and NRDC in 2017 using primary data which was collected across the solar and wind energy sector. And we interacted with manufacturers, we interacted with developers, EPC companies to calculate what is the typical time spent by their workers on a certain task. And we calculated that, let's say, wind, when you deploy a megawatt of wind energy technology, like you're commissioning a 1 megawatt of wind energy plant, you're creating about 1.27 of full-time equivalent jobs. Again, understand it's not like one job is created, but it's like a full-time equivalent is close to one. There could be maybe people working for shorter duration or longer duration, but when you standardize them, it comes down to 1.27. Utility scale similarly creates about 3.5 jobs per megawatt. And these are smaller numbers, but when you see rooftop solar, it creates 8 times more jobs than utility scale solar. Now, both utility and rooftop, you're doing the same thing. You're deploying solar panels on land or on roof. but the nature of the jobs that created, or the number of jobs that's created is different. Reason being that utility scale means you are, let's say you are commissioning 1 megawatt, you're doing it in a specific geography. Your boundaries are confined. Whereas in rooftop solar, if you were to achieve 1 megawatt of capacity, you either need a huge roof, which can accommodate everything in one. As that's difficult, you are doing it on a small roofs. So let's say you are deploying 10 systems of 100 kilowatt capacity each, so that the total capacity becomes 1 megawatt. Now, to commission each of these systems, you would need separate teams. They will work on one project like simultaneously. You can also do, just to optimize your operations, maybe less number of teams and the sequential work on each other project. So in either way, basically your duration of commissioning 1 megawatt project is different. The people who are engaged in commissioning are different. So that's why rooftop solar, or for that matter, any form of distributed RE energy, like RE technology, they create more jobs per megawatt compared to your large scale systems like wind and utility scale solar. But it's also important to understand that these are just jobs which are created and not the people who are employed to take up these jobs. This distinction is very important because jobs need not be equivalent to workers who are working in the sector. A single worker can do multiple jobs. And let's say someone who is part of the construction, it's not like they will only construct, let's say, they will only help in erecting a wind turbine. They could also help in making grid connections. They could also help initially in site leveling, like preparing the site, clearing the grounds. So it's like a single worker can do multiple jobs. So jobs could be created, jobs created could be different, but the workers who will actually be engaged in the sector are different. And this is a very important distinction, which CEEW and RDC have, from the inception itself, we have tried to clarify and build understanding that how do you communicate the real employment opportunity which is arising in the clean energy sector. Now, with that background as to how jobs are created, what are the nature, let's go deep into what our body of work has been, as Deepak was mentioning in the introduction. The first question to answer is why have we spent like a decade or so to work on this sector? Why do we estimate jobs and employment opportunities and skilling requirements? There are 4 broad reasons. First is we want to understand what are the socio-economic benefits of clean energy transition. So, our research on this topic tells us that this sector, which are developed across clean energy technologies, those are job-intensive sectors, and jobs which are created are of different nature. They could be localized, they could be decentralized or distributed. So there are various socio-economic benefits that can be availed, and depending on technology where they're created, they helps bring transition closer to the communities. So communities, if they can see that, it's not like, because they can't visualize that, okay, how my electricity is becoming cleaner, how my emissions are reducing. It's difficult for a layman to understand. But if they can see that, okay, a plant come up and few people of my community were employed, then they can actually see the socio-economic benefits that clean energy transition brings to them. The second point is doing such analysis and estimates help create a political drive for RE, like scaling up RE technologies or scaling up clean energy technologies. Because when you can quantify and give a proof that this is the real impact that is created, you actually drive a political will that your priorities should have clean energy technologies deployment. You should, provide avenues to ease the financial flow into the sector. You should ease the regulatory scope and governance structure so that more technologies can come up. So all these imperatives are essential to drive RE, and such analysis helps build such political will. Next point is the skill development. When you are aware that a new industry is coming up and there are employment opportunities being created, you need to create a skilled workforce who will take up these opportunities. So we do such analysis to inform our policymakers or to inform our curriculum in general that how do you create a skilled workforce? What are the skill requirements of these industries? And how can you achieve them in a short, medium, or long term? And again, if you have a skilled workforce, you would know that industry will not fall short of trained workers. So the renewable energy deployment or the clean energy deployment will have a sustained momentum. And thereby you can achieve your targets and ambitions that you have set forward. Lastly, such analysis helps create a national data repository. So often at times our research is quoted in parliamentary discussions, is presented on various ministerial boards, and also in within industry, like the clean energy industry itself. So these numbers and the analysis that we put out help create the data repository, which can be referred to again and again and take some decisions. And I'll just quickly tell you like how the journey has been so far. NRDC and CEEW, we began early in 2013 or so. And at that time, we were also trying to understand the sector, who itself was at a very early stage. Deployment of different technologies had just started begun. So most of our efforts at that time were to understand the sector. And the reports that you see on your left, all of these are available on our website. I can drop a link later also. So these reports were kind of like case studies that we undertook to understand what are the employment opportunities in ground-mounted solar, rooftop solar, or wind energy. And on the right, you see the skill mapping. So for these industries that we studied, we also went back and delved deeper into what kind of skilled workers are required and how the skill levels vary across the deployment phases. So with this understanding, the next phase focused more on estimating the jobs and quantifying what is the employment potential like. And that's where we also partnered with Skill Council for Green Jobs, and together their input has been immense on tracking the skilling requirements and tracking how the training programs have been developed and how their performance has been. So from that year onwards, 2017 onwards, the three institutions, CEEW, NRDC, and Skill Council for Green Jobs have come up with these periodic estimates of what is the year-on-year employment that is created. And we track how the capacity was deployed. So commensurating to it, how many jobs were created, how many workers were employed, and what was the skill levels, how the skill, has there been a change in the skill level of the workers? And you will see in the coming slides insights from these studies. We have also tried to look at the gender inclusivity of these jobs. So I was mentioning that, if we are promoting more of decentralized or distributed solar, or any form of distributed RE technology, you can create more local jobs. These jobs are more diversified, so you bring transition closer to the community. But how about the gender inclusiveness of these jobs? So are these, are these gender balanced? Do women and men have equal opportunities to take up these jobs? And if not, what are the barriers? So we created a seminal, produced a seminal report on tracking the women's participation in the rooftop solar sector. And a few insights were, at the top of my head are, let's say women, the performance and participation of women in the clean energy sector is better than your conventional sector, but it's still below what can be achieved or what should be desirable. And of course, women find a lot of, their occupations are in the non-field activities, either in business development or in administrative work. And the majority of women are employed in these sectors, and their presence on field is limited. A few barriers, I think, will be true for a lot of other sectors also, which have a lot of field activities. Are what we found were that, of course, the connectivity and accessibility of these sites, because let's say we talk about solar and wind deployment, it can happen in a lot of remote areas where you have a lot of land available to set up these projects. So the accessibility and safety of women to work in these conditions is challenging. And since these are, as I was saying, these are also short-term jobs, the ones which are related to contractual work, like construction work. So that means women have to, move across places. They have to shift their locations, which is difficult for them because they have added social responsibilities as well. So with all these barriers, uptake of women in clean energy sectors is, and here we're talking about rooftop solar, but it's true for other sectors also, it's difficult and it has been low. Our latest work, which came up in January this year, which is the screenshot of the report that you see on bottom right, is it not only gives you what the performance of the sector has been so far, but it also tells you what are the employment prospects from the 500 gigawatt target that we have set. And the couple of these next two slides actually talk about those insights. So as of FY21, that's financial year 2021, India's solar and wind energy sector had employed about 1 lakh people. And these are like active workers in the sector. And in that same period, Skill Council for Green Jobs had trained about 78,000 individuals under the national level Surya Mitra program. And this just shows that how progressive the trainings have been, because these trained workers are actually, they are the ones who are working in the sector, who have achieved skilling from the national level skilling programs conducted by Skill Council, and also additional numbers would also be available by National Institute of Solar Energy. So together, while deployment of this capacity that we are seeing, about like 50 gigawatts were deployed. So capacity deployment had created jobs, and these skilling and training programs have created the workforce which is now working in these sectors. And this number can go up to 3.4 million. So about 3.4 million new jobs can be created by achieving the solar and wind energy targets under the 500 gigawatt mix. So these are, this is like an average number that that I'm mentioning right now. You can refer to the report on our website, where you can see how the final capacity of solar and wind technologies in the 500 gigawatt mix changes, which eventually changes the number of jobs that are created. And this number can go, it can increase more, because right now, as you can see in the donut chart, we are only talking about utility scale solar, rooftop solar and wind. If we consider bioenergy, if we consider small hydro, waste to energy, so if we consider these technologies as well, and if we have their full-time equivalent coefficients, we would see this number maybe going up to adding another, let's say 50,000, a million. So of course, analysis is required, but of course this number would increase if we include other technologies as well. Mentioning one more thing here, like these, so far we have been using the same coefficients which we developed in our FY 2017 study, the full-time equivalent coefficients I had shown earlier. It's also important to periodically revise these estimates, these coefficients, because the industry is evolving. Earlier, maybe the industry was new, so the workforce requirement or the nature of the jobs, like the duration of the jobs, could be different. But now, with a lot of automation, with a lot of experience, at least in these mature sectors of solar and wind, the employment intensity could be different. So going forward, it's also one of our priorities that, with our partner organizations, we will revise these coefficients and also develop coefficients for other technologies. And some of these technologies we have also already started looking on. So a new sector that's emerging is floating solar. It's nothing but you are deploying your solar panels on a water body instead of ground or roof that you do in utility scale or rooftop solar. So in floating solar, you are using your water reservoirs in dams or your lakes and all these water bodies which are available to install your solar panels. And these are not floating directly. You have a fiber or a plastic float, which is on which those are like hollow structures, like huge hollow structures on which you put your modules along with the frame, and then that whole structure is released onto a water body. So we conducted a case study, just like we did in 2013 for solar and wind energy sectors. We took a case study approach and we studied few plants only, because at that point, there were only few commissioned plant whose data was available with us. So we found that for commissioning a small to mid scale of floating solar plant, you can employ directly 45 to 58 people. And this number will change. It will change depending on the scale of the plant. Bigger plants usually require fewer workforce because you are essentially using your resources more efficiently. So it's not like with the increase in the capacity, your workforce requirement also increases. That doesn't happen proportionally, to put it in right context. Similarly, we were also looking at the mini grids and microgrid sector. The solar mini and microgrids, these are a very efficient tool to improve energy access in remote and rural areas or difficult geographies where your conventional grid or the main electricity can't go. So often we can say qualitatively, I don't have the exact numbers with me, but qualitatively installing these mini and microgrid solution is more economical than extending your entire grid infrastructure to connect, to have that last mile connectivity and ensure that your entire population has access to the main electricity grid. So that's why solar mini and microgrid systems are gaining traction. They are becoming popular, and a lot of this deployment is happening in states like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, where who have a huge forest cover. The population is majorly rural and doesn't have access to electricity. So we found that in order to commission a mini grid of, let's say, 25 to 30 kilowatt of capacity, you can directly employ 3 to 5 people full time. And this number will increase, as I was explaining for floating solar, this number will increase depending on the capacity or depending on how many of these systems you are deploying in a particular time frame. And these are the sectors which we have already studied and we have credible research on. Some of the ongoing projects focus on looking after newer technologies that are coming up. Let's say energy storage. In energy storage, we are looking at the manufacturing as well as on the deployment of batteries, of grid scale storage systems, be it redox flow batteries or lithium ion based batteries, or even hydro systems. So pumped hydro is a very mature sector, but maybe their importance will change as India increase their RE capacity. They would be we might see more projects, hydro projects coming up that just to balance the intermittent RE energy that will be available in the grid. So we are looking onto energy storage, what are the skilling requirements, what are the job creation opportunities. And we are also looking at offshore wind, which is your wind technology, which is deployed on the shore, not like on ground. So also we are looking at bioenergy, where we are understanding how deployment of different bioenergy forms can create your job opportunities. These are the clean energy technologies that are coming up, but there are also new sectors that are emerging. One of such sector is a recycling sector. All these clean energy technologies will create waste whenever the technology reaches their end of life and the projects are decommissioned. So a lot of waste would come up from the sector. And so far, this industry doesn't exist. We have recycling industry for conventional e-waste sector, but for clean energy waste, such an industry is absent. So this new sector is also coming up to manage the waste which is created and to recover the materials that go into this sector, into these technologies. Similarly, as you are increasing the share of these clean energy technologies, which majority of which are intermittent in nature, which are available only for a short time, you would need to strengthen your power sector. You would need to upgrade your grid infrastructure, improve its availability, construct new lines, have new transformers. So all this is additional infrastructural growth which is required. And these sectors will again create more jobs. And again, a distinction, we can apply our concepts of direct, indirect jobs that while the clean energy technologies itself would create direct jobs, indirect and induced jobs would be created through these sectors. Now we'll come to the skilling trends. What are the skilling requirements in the clean energy sector and how efforts have been to achieve that skill level and training programs in the country? So on the image that you see, we have divided our solar and wind energy project deployment into 4 phases. First phase is business development, where a lot of conceptualization happens. It's mostly desk job, where you are doing financial analysis, where you are looking after your legal and regulatory compliances. That's your business development phase. You're identifying your clients, like whom would you collaborate with, who will provide you equipment, who you will sell power, all these things. You participate in tenders. Then comes the design and pre-construction phase, where uh, you have already identified your clients, you have participated and maybe won the tender. So you would want to design your project, like where it would come up, what is the site which you had identified, is it available? If so, you will acquire the land, and then you will prepare it for construction. And then third phase is, which you see in green, is construction and commissioning phase, where a lot of on-ground activities occur. So you have workers in the field who are installing different components, modules, turbines, energy storage systems, inverters, and you are connecting your system with the grid. And you are eventually, after testing and monitoring, you would commission the plant, bring it online, and make it operational to sell power. The last phase is operation and maintenance, where your project is up and running, and now you would need to monitor its operations, check for its performance, and ensure that any like irregularities that you are seeing are taken care of. Each of these phases, intuitively, they will require different skill sets. So for business development, you would require people who can track the market, who can identify opportunities for the company as well as for the clients, who can do financial analysis, and who have knowledge of laws and regulation to identify how, what compliances have to be made, what sort of policy support is available, and where are the bottlenecks. Similarly, for design and pre-construction, you would need people who are aware of design engineering, who can do electrical, mechanical design, civil design, who can manage the project, because you had to oversee the whole cycle of procurement, of manufacturing, of people. So a whole project management team is needed. So those skills are also required. Then people who have skills to do geographical resource assessment. So you're setting up a wind plant. So you would need to know what is the wind speed there, where are the viable sites. If you're setting up a solar plant, you would see how good is the solar irradiation, what is the output you can achieve, and accordingly you will place your plant. So all these skills are required in design and pre-construction phase. Construction and commissioning phase, intuitively, again, it requires people who can, majority of people who can do equipment installation, or people who can ensure quality control, because you are procuring materials go into the field. So you need a team to ensure quality control of the material you are procuring, and how those that are being installed, if they are of quality or not. And a lot of people are required for equipment installation. Lastly, for operation and maintenance, you would need people who can read the data, who can monitor the operations of plant, who can do troubleshooting, who can manage the equipment as well as the output that's coming. So you need people with those skills. And this chart just summarizes the same information in a quantitative way. So you have in the business development phase, majority of the people are skilled. So you don't have people who have low skilled or semi-skilled level. Design and pre-construction, again, majority of people are skilled, but you do have some share of semi-skilled and unskilled people. And construction and operation and maintenance, on the contrary to business development and pre-construction, has majority of semi-skilled or unskilled people. Now, I would like to highlight the term unskilled itself. So it doesn't mean that person has no skills. Of course, you will not bring anyone to field or to the sector who doesn't have any skills. What the term unskilled means, that it doesn't have the skills which are required specifically for the sector. They would be, of course, aware how do you, handling your basic construction tools, let's say, but they don't have knowledge that if something, like if some incident happens, how do you, what steps do you take? How do you troubleshoot it? How do you ensure safety? So all these skill levels are not required. And this is a slightly dated chart. This is from our 2017 study. So at that point, these skills were unavailable. So, and in the training programs also and otherwise, so we were using the term unskilled. But now, as the tech industry itself has evolved, this term is being replaced as low-skilled people, that people have basic understanding of the sector, have basic understanding of things that they're handling. Of course, they are not semi-skilled or completely skilled, but they are low-skilled. So you will see in our latest reports, this unskilled term being replaced by low-skilled levels, because we have had training programs who have provided the basic skills so that none of the population is unskilled as per the industry levels, but rather possesses some skilling, has some skilled trainings. Talking about training programs, government has developed multiple skill development programs at a national level. To cater to the demand from solar industry, government has been running Surya Mitra skill development program. For the wind sector, Vayu Mitra skill development program was conceptualized. And there is another sector which is coming up, which is solar water pumps. I'm sure you have heard of schemes like Kusum, which is to ensure that your agricultural sector is using your solar power to run their pumps and for irrigation requirements. And also they can now set up their power plant to meet their own need as well as sell it back to discoms. So for this sector, the demand, to cater to the demand in this sector, government had started Varun Mitra skill development program as well. And sector skill council for green jobs. Besides these programs, they also have additional training curriculum being developed, which are catering to the industry requirements as well. Going a bit on the skilling requirements into the emerging sector. So I showed you the employment opportunities in the floating solar sector. If we map the skilling requirement in the sector, we find that this industry is going to be a highly skilled industry. You would need engineers who have expertise in either civil, mechanical, or new sectors like hydraulic engineering. You would need people who can and who know marine architecture and can design systems like that. Who, since you are using these plastic or reinforced fiber floats, the manufacturing of these floating solar components would require people who have experience of working in a plastic industry, handling your plastic bow molding technologies. And as you can see also in the graph on the right, this is just for the manufacturing part, the component manufacturing that go into the floating sector. All of these peoples are either highly skilled or semi-skilled, and a low-skilled person doesn't find a part, is not a part of this workforce. Similarly, for battery manufacturing, it's another area which is emerging. The sector would require people experience in mining, in metallurgy, in material science, electrochemical science, because they need to know what materials go into the battery, how the chemistry is working, because basis on that only your efficiency, your life cycle, your stability will be determined. Again, you need people who have computational knowledge, who can model these systems, because before you actually manufacture it, you would run that system on your, run that model on your computer, and you will see the different performance parameters. Digitalization is also an emerging requirement, skill requirement in this sector, because a lot of these are, since their lifetime is short, and you would need to monitor their performance continuously. So you need to keep a track of where the products are going, where the commodities are coming from. And of course, you are always deploying batteries, like a majority of these batteries, they go in EV, but they also go in grid integration. So to balance your RE technology. So digitalization is needed there. You need to see how the charging and discharging cycles are happening. So when is the power available? So all of these things require people to have knowledge of digitalization as well. And as I was talking about new sectors emerging, so for recycling and waste management of clean energy technologies, you would need people in, again, having expertise in material and electrochemical science, people who know metallurgy, who can refine your the waste which is coming in, you can refine them to high purity metals or other components. With this, we come to the end of the presentation, where I'll just outline some recommendations as to how we create a skilled workforce. And all these recommendations are coming from the work that we have undertaken in last decade or so. And we have also conducted dedicated evaluation of programs. So recently had conducted evaluation of the Surya Mitra skill development program, which I talked about, and that report should be out in public domain soon. So based on our body of work, we think that these are some of the recommendations which can be adopted by policymakers or different stakeholders to ensure that the skilling programs are up to date, they are running and creating impact which is desired. So the first recommendation is that the curriculum of these training programs should be updated as per industry needs. As I also mentioned a couple of slides back, just like the full-time equivalent coefficients, the skilling trends and requirements are also increasing, are also changing. So it's need to periodically do a revision of these curriculums and basis on what inputs we're getting from industry. So let's say if more automation is needed, so maybe we would see what sort of curriculum changes are required. If there are entirely new skills, like we found in floating solar. So you install solar, but you also need to have your workers some experience of working in a water body. How do you, have those skills to enter a water body to ensure safety? So all these curriculums have to be updated periodically. Second, industry connect has to be improved. So industry should be made aware that these national level skilling programs are available, which provide quality training. So they don't have to focus a lot more on, additional training of their workers. They can leverage the skilled workforce pool, which is available in different geographies, and they can, then provide some on-job training, and they would have their workers, the desired level of skilled workers with them. So industry connect is also important. The second set of recommendation targets creating awareness on the at the college level, because we see like a lot of these new sectors, as I was saying, they require high skilled people, and those might be difficult to achieve by just these skilling or training programs running right now. They are mostly targeting your entry or mid-level positions, but for senior level positions, you already have colleges providing similar courses. So if you can create awareness at university level that these are the alternate sectors where you can find yourself employable instead of your conventional sectors, so that is also that will also help meet the demand of the clean energy sector. Again, if we can provide blended training modules, blended indicating that not just offline training like in-person or physical training, but also online training modules, they can also help. They can also improve the uptake of training programs and create a desired impact. Because we saw in pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, that while government had provided relaxation to deploy, continue the deployment of these RE technologies, the same wasn't true for skilling centers. And our study on Surya Mitra program evaluation found that a lot of training centers had to close during the pandemic. And even if they were open in the later part of the year, the workers or the people in general, or the youth wasn't coming to these centers just because of some difficulties or other. So if they had online training modules available and available for all type of programs and at all levels, then this will just ensure that people will continue to get trained and upskilled instead of them coming to the training center in person and participating in the trainings. Lastly, we should identify upskilling and reskilling opportunities. So the training programs, while the core module can be, will continue to be there, there could be some these sub-modules that can be created, which just cater to the upskilling and reskilling opportunities. Again, taking the example of floating solar, a person who is trained for ground-mounted or rooftop solar has basic understanding of how to install a PV system. If you can provide a complementary course on hydraulics, on plastic manufacturing, so you can make the same person employable in the other sector as well. Similarly, in your electronic waste management sector, if you can provide them additional knowledge of why, like how a clean energy waste is different from your typical consumer electronic waste, then the same worker who is catering or currently working in your like in your general electronic waste industry can also cater to the demand coming from clean energy sector, the waste which is coming from this sector. So we have to identify these upskilling and reskilling opportunities. Reskilling here also alludes to how do you provide training to a person who is trained in another sector. For example, your as you phase down coal, your traditional traditional fuels, coal, petroleum. So you would need, you would have a lot of trained workforce. They are not trained in clean energy technologies, but they are trained in other technologies. So how do you then reskill them? So you need to develop such modules also. You have to cater to that new demand, which is coming from the conventional sector, their workforce being reducing due to our clean energy ambitions. So this is another aspect of just transition that we call. So to ensure that those workers are not lost, or those people are not lost in our clean energy transition, and they can also equitably and inclusively transition to clean energy sector. So we have to identify reskilling opportunities for such workforce as well. And with that, I'll end the presentation. And thank you for your attention. And I'll be happy to take any questions that are there from the audience. I'll just stop sharing the screen.
Thank you very much, Akanksha. Thanks a lot for a detailed presentation. And I can see you have simplified many, many things from the report. It's not easy to understand so many things. And thanks a lot for making it, sort of very simplified. Because we also, I remember having long discussions on the workforce versus jobs created and this evolving narrative. Typically, normally we don't use this. Jobs created and workforce or employment, everything is considered, like a same. Often we use it interchangeably, but technically they are not. And the report highlights that points, and it's never easy to communicate all those messaging through the reports. But it's great. Before we take up some questions. May I kindly request our CEO, Dr. Saxena, to share his quick remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Deepak, and thank you very much, Akanksha. It was really a very informative talk. In fact, many things we completely ignore, and you have pointed out how they are important for us. Your recommendations are absolutely well taken. And I'm sure Deepak would take them very, very seriously. In fact, half of them we are already working on, like online courses and reskilling, upskilling things. We are talking of, for example, coal mine people, how to make their transition properly. But thank you so much for that. One or two suggestions because it's not very common that we are listening to somebody directly to our area for about an hour. What I would like, and that we have been working with CEEW from the very beginning, at least since our inception, we are working with the CEEW, and all reports are sort of common. One or two difficulties we face, which definitely if we sit together, we can work on that, is where the jobs are likely to come, which we never capture in our reports. We say how many jobs, okay, so many megawatts expected, maybe a multiplier factor, things like that. But one thing which we would like in our future reports to focus on, at least as much as we know, where, for example, the solar projects are expected to come, where the wind projects are likely to come, which is not a very difficult information if we join request MNRE or SECI and things like that, to know where we are planning our projects. Who is doing that project is a different ball game altogether. But once we know these are the places where the expected projects are, future projects are coming, probably we can plan skilled workforce in those areas and utilize local manpower, at least for some minor, the low level of skilled workforce. This is one thing. which is there. And second thing I would like to comment is that we also must start working on not the green jobs, but green skills in other sectors. This is one area I would talk to on this separately, that we must also start looking at in our reports in which sectors we can easily intervene to move them jobs to be as the green skills, or what kind of a green skills can be imparted in other jobs. So these are the two areas quickly came in my mind that we must note down. Deepak, it is for you also, and Akanksha for you also, that our future reports may look at these things, which would definitely help us in sort of structuring our skilling program. I can see SR Meena. Meena, are you there? Hello. Chaliye, you continue with the questions. Thank you very much once again to you as well as to your organization, CEEW, which is always standing by Skill Council for Green Jobs. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Saxena. Pleasure. And it's always been, very informative inputs that you have given. And Deepak and I have been deliberating on these two topics from the beginning of this year when we released our report. We'll surely take up this over. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Akanksha has already said we have started discussions, sir, slightly late, but as an awarding body, sir, as you know, we are also re-looking at all these opportunities. Briefly, we are also trying to map where our existing training partners are located, how we can aggregate all those deliveries, the deliveries of trained manpower to directly to the project sites in the least cost, let's say, cost model, if possible. So we are exploring all those options, but just a quick insight for you, Akanksha. As you know, typically, traditionally our value chain used to start from, let's say, vocational institutions onwards. But now, as you have rightly mentioned at college level, but now there is an escalation to that up in the value chain under the NEP, National Education Policy, New Education Policy. Now the focus is schools. So as we speak, we are trying to integrate a lot of our qualifications at school level. And it's, to be honest with you, it's a leap of faith for us as well. We don't know really, because traditionally that's not been done, but now we are into that cycle. We are into that phase. Even as we speak, a couple of qualifications are being tweaked and new qualifications are designed, focusing on school level education, starting from class 8, not only for, let's say, central boards, but also focus with some state specific boards. So yes, a lot of new areas are also opening up. Sir knows more. We can, separately have a discussion on that. But before that, before I ask a few questions, I would request people, if they have any other questions, they can either raise their hands on the screen, or they can put up their questions on the chat box. But here I can see one question. Just give me 1 second. Let me quickly run through it. So starting with Arpo. Arpo is from iForest, a very good colleague. And he says, how have you calculated the number of skilled personnel required for different phases, for different projects, for man days, man hours required? All right. So you can have.
Yeah. Right. Thank you for the question, Arpu. All these are primary data collection. So in 2017, we had rolled out a survey with manufacturers, both in solar and wind industry, with the EPC companies, with IPPs and other developers, to understand what is the nature, like how many people are engaged, for what duration they are engaged, and what are the typical skill sets that they have. And it was a very detailed survey, and it catered to projects of different capacities as well. So we made sure we have a representation from small, medium, and large systems. And basis on that, we calculated these FTE coefficient, like full-time equivalent coefficients, using which we are determining the employments. Hope that answers.
Great, Akanksha. So quickly to the next one. This is from Kavya. Kavya is from ILO. So we are also starting, good discussions with ILO. They have a particular focus on green jobs, as you know. So ILO is, Kavya has asked this question regarding the 3.4 million jobs that are estimated for 2030. particularly in solar and wind? And is there any split with respect to the skilling, let's say, criteria? How many skilled, low, highly skilled requirement for those 2030 estimates?
Right. Thank you, Kavya. And we had interacted before as well. So the definition of these skill levels is from ILO itself. So how they categorize someone as high skilled, semi-skilled, or low skilled, we have continued to use those same definitions, depending on the qualification degree that they have or the kind of trainings that they had undertaken. So in the 3.4 million number, we don't have a split, skilling split, because it will remain true what we had found in our initial studies. But yeah, I don't think that's a difficult exercise to do. We can, if you need, we can, connect offline and also discuss what the skilling split would be. But mostly the results would not change much, like depending on, but we do have like the 3.4 number is of course split into where the jobs are created, in what phase. So let's say how many jobs are created in business development, how many in design pre-construction, how many in construction, and using the chart that I had shown in the presentation, that business development will require complete set of skilled people or high skilled people, I think we can easily calculate the split in 3.4 number as 3.4 million number as well.
Great. I will continue with her second question before I go back to Priya Bansal's question. So Kavya also asked, to meet the target of 3.4 million jobs in renewables by 2030, is the skilling infrastructure sufficient? Wow, good question, Kavya. We don't know, but let Akanksha answer to that. What would be your recommendation for skilling to cater to the workforce numbers required?
I think it could be a joint answer, Deepak. I think we should both come together to answer this question. Our insights from the Suryamitra program evaluation found that states have, at least talking about the solar sector, states do have a lot of training centers open and they're running. It's the efficiency at which they're running is it's I mean, that's questionable. So people like there are there are batches which are running in under capacity or which are running at full capacity, but the people are not getting employed. So in our understanding, the infrastructure is there, its utilization and efficacy is, it needs to be improved. And it's also where these are located. We did a preliminary analysis of demand and supply matching, which Dr. Saxena was also hinting at. And we found that a lot of states where skilling centers are there are not the place where new projects are coming up. So, and it's very difficult for these people to move across states or to look for outsourced jobs in other states. So if we can create incentive to mobilize these trained workforce, I think we can easily balance the supply chain, the supply and demand mismatch. But if we could also ensure that the more sectors are coming up, the more skilling centers are coming up in states where deployment is happening, or more deployment in the states which already have skilling centers, I think that would be that can help create a skilled workforce as per the requirements of 2030. That was my quick comment on that. Deepak, if you had, please add.
To add to Akanksha's response, Kavya, we have already discussed as well. Many things have been achieved, let's say, since the inception of SCGJ and the overall MSDE since 2015, as a standalone ministry. Let's say since the inception of Skill India mission. Under the broader mission, a lot of success has been achieved, including for solar trainings. Over 1 lakh candidates have been trained. Many of them are already employed in the sector. Still, there are a lot of work in progress. So we are, now we are an awarding body. Now we are re-looking at things. We are also discussing with all our training partners. We are trying to leverage the immense experience, the learnings made all over the years, and we are just trying to scale it up to reach out to, let's say, 2030 targets. We are discussing with industry. We are trying to discuss with pretty much all stakeholders to structure things and to try our best to deliver on the required numbers. But yes, I completely agree. Many things to do. A lot of mapping exercise has to be done. Industry specific courses have to be tailored in. we need to partner more with the industry. So yes, we need support from ILO as well, along with so many other organizations. So I hope that answers that question for now. Let me quickly jump on to Priya Bansal's question.
Deepak, just to add what you are saying, in fact, the quick answer could also be the way we are now trying to work with ITIs, the way we are trying to work with skill universities, and also the new education policy talking about colleges offering vocational education. So if all those things fall in place, I'm sure we would strengthen vocational education in all renewable energy sector as well, and probably would be good to go for meeting the target of 3.4 million skilled workforce. I think these are the additional places where we will have to probably work with ITIs, with engineering colleges, where actually if you create infrastructure for these trainings, then it is a continuous utilization of that infrastructure year on year basis, and probably able to meet the targets. This is what my input would be.
Thank you very much, sir. So a quick question raised by Priya Bansal, and this is about how do you calculate the coefficients? And now her second question, I think she's mentioning about the report on transition to EVs made by CEEW, and she's seeking some clarification on calculation to job coefficients in EV sector. Akanksha.
I had already answered how we have calculated those questions, those coefficients. Sorry, what was the second question around EV?
I think the second question is about she isn't clear how to calculate job coefficients in the EV sector. I'm not sure if that has been done, but
yeah. Priya, there is another team at CEEW from the Sustainable Mobility team, and they have done some analysis on the employment which is there in the EV sector. So in the Jobs and Skills program, which I contribute to, the EV sector has not been studied so far, but I can share with you other report which actually calculates what is the employment potential. They don't necessarily have these full-time equivalent coefficients, but they do have developed a metric to estimate what are the employment opportunities in the EV sector based on the 2030 targets, like either EV 30 at 30 mission. So yeah, I can share those things with you, but I'm not privy to that as well. I can connect you with the concerned researchers.
Great, Akanksha. Just to add to that, we also have team from Satwa, together with Satwa Consulting. We are undertaking a very comprehensive report, and it's possibly for the first time that we are also considering various other sectors, which are not traditionally. I mean, until now we never looked at them from this perspective, green jobs perspective, but we are including those sectors as well. We have a team from Satva also attending this call, and in that study we are trying to understand what are the opportunities, what are the challenges for skilling, what are the status as we speak, let's say in 2022, and what are the opportunities for 2030. And yes, it's going to be an interesting study. A lot of questions raised by sir would also be possibly answered through that report. So yeah, we are in process of understanding, and in that we also question, is FTE the right approach? I mean, it's very good. We must have all these discussions to just open up more and more insights to just correct each other if this is the right way. We don't know. I mean, there are a lot of uncertainties in the calculation as well. Saying something like 25,000 in wind energy sector, complete. And I understand the sector is not doing great, what it was doing, let's say 6 years ago or so. But 25,000 odd employed in wind energy sector. I mean, these are the questions which people ask us, and we also ask ourselves. So yes, even through that report, we will try to briefly analyze whether FT is the right approach. And this conversation will continue. I mean, we have to build up, while discussing with other stakeholders, industry in particular, to understand if FT is the right way, then what are the FT for their own, thematic segment like EV, like the other person just asked, and beyond. So with that, a very quick question again on the manufacturing part of it. be it solar, be it other renewable energy technology. We understand, typically we don't cater to that value chain particularly. And with the PLI scheme and so much domestic manufacturing, Atmanirbhar mode, the focus it is getting, how to look at the manufacturing numbers?
That is a question, Deepak.
Question, observation, combined.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think manufacturing sector need to be relooked at, I would say. We had looked at manufacturing sector in 2017 itself for wind and solar manufacturing, but the industries have evolved a lot. There is more automation. There are, it's also depending on what is the manufacturing model that India is adopting. It's not like the entire value chain is getting manufactured here. So it would not be easy. There are players who cater to different things. So I mean, I agree with your point. Like it's a slightly overlooked sector. We do continue to use our old estimates, and like other coefficients as well, I think we would need to relook this. Hopefully it will start soon.
Great, thanks a lot, Akanksha. I mean, I understand we have already extended our time duration here. But in case anyone has last two quick questions before we conclude the call.
Yeah, Viresh Pani is the raise hand. Deepak.
Yeah. Hi Deepak and hi Akanksha. First of all, thanks for the nice presentation on this renewable energy, the opportunities. My name is Viresh and I'm connected from Deshpande Foundation, Hubli, Karnataka. So my question is, I think I already connected Akanksha and Neeraj over the email. Akanksha, and this probably this question may be to Praveen Saxena. We at Deshpande Foundation at Hubli, we run a skill development program. We have a residential and we have a non-residential program. So residential, we largely recruit BA, BSc, and BCom students. We train them and we employ them at ITC sector and banking sector. And we also have non-residential program. We work with the final year students on the BA, BSc, BCom students for about 8 to 10 months. And we train them largely on communication, aptitude, reasoning, technology, all that, and we place them. But now at the foundation, we are looking at new opportunities. Like we see that the renewable energy is going to create a lot of employment opportunity in India. Right? I also gone through your report. Right. So my question to you, Praveen Saxena, is how you can or how we can work with the Green Jobs organization, and we want to start the skill development program at Karnataka. So just need your insights on this.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Pani. I think a lot of opportunities are coming. I would also like to inform you that Skill Council for Green Jobs is now an independent awarding body of NCVT. So first thing is that we can establish contact with each other, and you can be our training partners as well in the renewable energy sector. We are trying to make some basic changes in the way our training partners would be operating, which includes offering them a bundle of qualifications for the trainings rather than 1 or 2 or 3. So we would like to work together with all of you, strengthen your technical capabilities and the lab facilities, see from where funds can be mobilized and create a good lab in your organizations, because solar and wind both would require good lab. So we are working on it. I would request be in touch with our organization, either me or Deepak or maybe Arpit. And let us make you our training partner. The most important thing which is emerging now is that we should have a very strong industry connect. All our training partners should have a very, very strong industry connect. In the sense, all funding is now coming linked to employment, frankly speaking. The days of PMKY or MNRE support are sort of becoming less and less. And we will all have to work with industry, try to develop a contact with them as to how many people are required. And maybe we would be especially supporting you people to train them specifically as per requirement, tailor-made requirement of a particular industry. So we will connect with each other, and I'm very happy that you are already doing a long-term kind of a course, and I'm sure we can work together.
Thank you, Mr. Praveen Saxena. Thank you. Thanks, Akanksha and Deepak. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So we can conclude the call in case there are no other questions. But in case if somebody would like to ask the last question, we can take one. All right. So thanks a lot, Akanksha. I think we are good to go with all the questions. I can already see we have extended it by 15-16 minutes. I think someone has just raised the hand, but Mr. Banerjee, we are about to conclude the session. So, all right, I can take Akanksha. Is it okay if I can take the last question?
Sure, yeah.
I think he has just joined in. I'm not very sure. Rohit, can you kindly give him the rights, please?
Sir, I already gave him the rights, but I think sir was not connected with us right now. They are facing some technical issue.
Okay, fair enough. Then in that case, we may not be able to take his question for now. Akanksha, thanks a lot. We would continue to have all these discussions and try to come up with new and new insights on this segment and the evolving segment, what we are trying to analyze. So once again, thanks a lot to you and to your team as well. And let's continue to discuss on new things. So with this, let's conclude the call. I would also like to thank all our participants who attended the call today. We would again have a new speaker on next Friday. So till then, thank you very much.
Thank you, Deepak and your team. It's a privilege to be at this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Akanksha, from my side as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saxena.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.